In general, how successful was the lesson? Did the students learn what you intended for them to learn? How do you know?
Overall, I think it was a successful lesson. It wasn't really a lesson about, learning about the history of food. It was more about getting textual evidence to help them when they write their essay later. So overall, I believe most of them did that. I know because I collected the papers and did look through, there were some groups that did forget some evidence, and then we went back and did it the next day.
Okay. If you were to bring samples of student work, what do those samples reveal about those students' levels of engagement and understanding?
Well, some students worked well together. When I paired them up, I tried to make sure I had a stronger student with somebody that might need some support. Overall, I think I did an okay job at that, but I did notice, like I said, that there were a few students that needed to be reminded to cite some evidence instead of just answering without, because they needed to cite evidence for the writing piece.
Okay. Comment on your classroom procedures, student conduct, and the use of your physical space. To what extent did these contribute to student learning?
Classroom procedures. So we do group work fairly often enough where they know how to get up and move around when they find their partner. I don't do it as much as I like because sometimes with this inclusion group, they don't use the time wisely. So overall, I like to have them pair up with other students, but I don't do it as much as I would like to. But I think the other day worked well because I gave them the little hamburger, was it a hamburger picture? A taco picture and a hamburger picture, so that like changed it up instead of me going 1, 2, 1, 2 like I normally do, or sometimes I let them free pick. So I think that made it a little bit more exciting for them, as silly as it was. What else can I say? I did notice that the assignment was taking a little bit longer, so I did have to remind them a couple times to get that done by the end of class. So I had more reminders than I would have liked with that group. There was some fooling around going on.
Did you depart from your lesson plan?
Let me think. Well, my plan was first to talk about the vocabulary, and I did that. We did read the paired text. No, I believe so. Ideally, I would have liked to have done one story at a time, but each story was like, with the inclusion group, I think it was a little overwhelming to do 2 stories, but both stories are only 7 minutes long, so I wouldn't have had enough just to do one story, but I feel like it was too much for the 2 stories. So if I could have changed things, maybe that would have been it.
Okay.
But I did not veer from my plan. That's what I planned all along.
Okay. Can you comment on different aspects of your instructional delivery? So that could be activities, grouping of students, materials, resources. To what extent were they effective?
Well, I like that they had the whole group video visual on the board. They had their independent reader if they had to go back. The little taco picture and spaghetti picture, they were a little excited about that. Oh, it was spaghetti, it wasn't hamburger. The taco picture and the spaghetti picture, I know that was silly, but for 8th graders, they enjoyed it. What was the next part of the question? Group activities, materials, resources? No, I uploaded it to Google Classroom, so if they had to do it for homework, they had it, or they could take the physical copy. No, I think I had everything I needed.
Okay, if you had the chance to teach this lesson again to the same group of students, what would you do differently?
No, that's what I forgot to mention about the other question, sorry to go back. I also had that resource paper. I was going to put it online and have them both work on their own Google sheet or whatever, but we do it so often, I tried to change it up with like a physical piece of paper. They're so used to like copying and pasting, so I that was another thing that I was happy that I did. I gave them a physical piece of paper that they had to work on. I'm sorry, number 6, you said if I had a chance to teach it again?
If you taught the same lesson to the same group of students, what would you do differently?
I would actually give them a chance to look over the text beforehand. I rushed it because we're doing midterms. So I did know that I wanted to get this done in order to, because we had 2 days of midterms. I would have spent a little bit more time looking over the text, looking over some of the side notes, and I know, I think I just would have spent a little bit more time like talking about it beforehand instead of just going right into the lesson.
Okay. So, I don't know if you had a chance to look over your evaluation, but you scored in proficient and distinguished for all categories. So throughout the lesson and my observations, The teacher demonstrated knowledge and caring about individual students' lives beyond the class and school. There was no disrespectful behavior amongst the students. You were able to communicate passion for the subject. You conveyed the satisfaction that accompanies a deep understanding of the complex content. You were able to relate the topic to your own life and give students a relevant example, which I think seemed to engage them in the topic. The students were able to work productively and remained engaged during small group and independent work. The transitions between large and small group activities were very smooth. The students were able to get up when instructed and exchange cards and find a partner with the opposite card seamlessly. The student behavior was entirely appropriate. You silently and subtly monitored student behavior as you walked around the room to assist the groups. There was no interruption due to student behavior. There was total alignment between the learning activities and the physical environment. You made use of the space that was there. The teacher was able to state clearly at some point during the lesson what the students would be learning. Your explanation of content was clear and invited the student participation and thinking, and you made no content errors. So in the vocabulary practice, you were able to welcome multiple student answers, and you allowed students to voice their opinions and share personal stories regarding the topic as well. You were able to use the open-ended questions, inviting students to think and or offer multiple answers, multiple possible answers on the tacos and spaghetti writing planner. You were able to call on students, even the students who did not initially volunteer, and they were responsive and engaged. Most of the students were engaged in the lesson throughout its entirety. The materials and resources support the learning goals and require intellectual engagement as appropriate. Your feedback also included specific and timely guidance for the groups of students that you worked with throughout the time I observed, and you were able to incorporate the students' interests and questions into the heart of the lesson. I know you said that the purpose of the lesson was NJSLS reading informational text 8th grade 1, which was citing textual evidence, making relevant connections. 8.4, which was determining the meaning of words and phrases as used in the text, which we did in the vocabulary practice. 8.5, which was analyzing the structure an author used to organize a specific part of the text. And 8.9, which was analyzing and reflecting on students' practical knowledge, background knowledge for 2 or more texts that provided conflicting information on the same topic. And you said that you felt that that went successfully. The rapport with students invited a comfortable atmosphere to learn difficult English language arts concepts, and you had mentioned that this is an inclusion classroom. Effective use of technology to support the student learning and self-sufficiency was evident, including the use of question stems to support student questions and understanding. So you had the RACE method, you reminded the students to use the RACE method throughout. So my overall recommendations would be to continue to maintain a comfortable rapport that students learning of difficult ELA concepts, continue to effectively use technology to support student learning and self-sufficiency, and familiarize yourself with the resources that correspond to the scope curriculum. Discussion structure so that all students vocally participate, as well as small group and student-driven discussions. Continue to call on students who may not actively volunteer to participate and invite them to participate in the discussion. For differentiated instruction, continue to use both the higher level and lower level versions of the text. Utilize the text-to-speech for specific students as needed, and implement small group learning for students with IEPs, ELL students, and students who are performing undergrade level with modified activities.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I forgot, I said hamburger.